Let's look at the other topic we said we were going to be talking about now, talking about the harmonization of the Electoral Act by the National Assembly. To be precise, the Senate, yesterday we saw that in plenary, whereby the Senate President Ahmed Lawan told us that stands now that we don't have conflicting documents anymore as it relates to the Electoral Amendment Bill in Nigeria. That bill, we're told that by today or tomorrow, is going to be transferred to the President for accent. But gentlemen, when this whole amendment started, a lot of people actually expected that, okay, it's going to take us from how it was. With all the happenings, the National Assembly, people reacting and all that, the President not accenting to the bill and all that, and of course back to the National Assembly now saying that, okay, let it be a direct, indirect, and consensus, thing. Is there any significant improvements, based on where we are coming from and where we are now? Any significant change as it relates to the Electoral Amendment Bill? Barrister Wosage.
Thank you very much. It's obvious, it's unfortunate. Again, we will say, well, from the superficial look, you say, well, the president, you could applaud him, or he's trying to, like he said, it's democracy. You shouldn't just streamline everything. You should allow people to decide whether direct or indirect or consensus candidate, as the case may be. That's his own thoughts, and he said that's basically the reason. Told them, channels, that's the reason that, and they even asked him, will you sign if this? He said, obviously, we assent to it. And now, you look at it critically. Before now, when that bill was sent to him, you see there was this talk back and forth. The president should not sign, he should sign. A lot of people saying the APC was not in support of it. The PDP, on the other hand, was, talking back and forth. They should sign. Now, if you look at that bill, the bill, there's a particular clause of 84, and they talked about the transmission of electronic transmission of results.
Yeah.
I think that seemed to be the major issue. All others was just trying to play around. But again, like you understand, whether they are transmitting from wherever, it all depends on those manning. I know Joseph Stanley had said that those that vote don't really count. It's the persons that are in charge of counting and even coming up to say this. We saw what played out in 2019, and we saw all of that. So basically, if you see what the president said, well, I could say, well, I agree with him to an extent that, yes, you didn't allow people decide. You don't just streamline and say, well, you don't have to, you should just be a director or, indirect, as the case may be, let them come out. But again, would that system be free from influences, from those big names that we have talked about earlier on, all those that consider themselves the owner of the country? Are they not the same persons working underneath this whole, back and forth? These are some of the areas we are looking at. Now, we talked about the transmission, which is the major talk, so that we will know from the polling unit, we'll know who and whatever. How about on that day, they tell you something is not working well, and somehow things are not working, and then they transmitted something, and the thing didn't display on the other end. They have to resort back to manual, we've seen that over and again. Even the other time, President Jonathan was to cast his vote, and they said the card reader could not capture the whole president. And this is what we spend money on, and they tell you, well, this is just what it is. They can make these are professional, sabotage, and there are people that could be paid to do this job. And at the end, they tell you, well, it's in law now, where it's there. But obviously, we cannot use it. What do? We have to resort back to. So we are in this back and forth, and it's obviously, or rather, the folks behind are the same characters that we are talking about. Those that claim that, or that believe they own the country, and they decide what happened, and then, they just play around and lie to look like it's a normal system. Obviously, it's not. I think that is what it is. Okay. So whether you are harmonizing the bill, you're coming from the Senate and the National, everybody is speaking one line. I know the president will just put his pen, okay, that's fine. That's good. It's not about that. It's about the character. The leaders, what's their character? Do they have integrity? Is integrity still what we are working with now? You see somebody telling you something in the morning, in the afternoon, saying something else, and you'll be wondering. You can hear conflicting information. It's not credited to this. The presidency, I'm not aware, but it's coming from the presidency and a whole lot of conflicting issues.
Frankie here, so I think we can also say that before the recess, the Christmas recess in the National Assembly, it was like the president was at the mercy of members of the National Assembly, because we heard when some said that, look, we're going to override the president, no doubt we'll override him and all that. And a lot of people actually expected that once these guys resumed, that they will override the president. But when they resumed, it was a different story entirely. Now, are you surprised with the way things played out? You know, that these members came up and all of a sudden, they now said, okay, we are harmonized and all that, against the boasting and all that they did before they went on recess.
No, I'm not surprised. If it had gone the right way, that's when I would have been surprised. You don't suddenly, you don't give birth to what you don't have in there. If we go by what particularly affirmed so long a time ago, that you can only predict the future by the events of the past. It's a sorry tale. It's a show of shame. Most political scholars, especially in the US and some part of the Western world, believe that the legislature is actually the first branch of government. Because if you look at the government as it is, yeah, we have three arms, three branches: the executive, the legislature, the judiciary. But the legislature is the one that can make laws, review laws. What makes a country is the relevant laws that binds them together. So the powers of the legislature is limitless. That is why lawmakers will tell you that they can turn a man to a man and turn a woman to a man. Because if they say it is, that is what it is. If they say it isn't, that is what it isn't. But unfortunately in Nigeria, the practice, I always affirm for so long a time that Nigerian political practice is twisted. Inherent in our political practice is the seed of self-destruct. Unfortunately, as a nation state, we water this seed of self-destruct rather than going in the contrary direction to possibly give some ray of hope. So on and on and on, you can see that there is growth that is more cancerous than healthy in our political evolution. That is the truth. Check out our trajectory. So, see the National Assembly coming by such law. Of course, if you want to talk about the National Assembly, see 2 weeks ago or about a week ago, when the papers reported concerning the missing arms. Now, the issue of missing arms did not come from independent auditors or from United Nations or World Bank. From Nigerian authorities. The Auditor General of the Federation. Yeah, about 178,459 arms missing from the police armory that they say don't have enough arms. Only rifles, they affirm that about 88,000 rifles. Now, this same National Assembly got this report about 7 months ago, way back August. On a normal day in a functional democracy, if we had members who were committed to their oath of office, are they not supposed to swing into action? It was when papers reported it some weeks back. So it shows that even their primary function, they don't perform, they don't read the reports that are submitted to them. From 1999 till date, we're talking about turnaround maintenance just now. How many ad hoc committees have been set up? How many investigation panels? What is the result? Sometimes you just sit back and say, who is the real bandit in this country? Is it the bandits in the bush or the bandits in government? Because they say 3 billion is missing. They set up another committee to investigate this stuff. That other committee is allotted 300 million to do the investigation. After they do the investigation, another 200 million is set up for another committee to look at it. Till tomorrow, there's nothing to show for it. They are here talking about people on fuel subsidy. Is it not the same President Muhammadu Buhari? How many reports of corruption? He was one that set up the forensic audit for NDDC. His administration has a year and some months left. The corruption they talked about in NDDC is in billions upon billions. Now you now paid forensic auditors billions upon billions of our money again, and the report is gathering dust.
All right, Mr. Frankie Hesu, I know why you are so emotional about this.
No, it's not about being emotional. Yeah. See, in 2011, I watched when Dora Akuni was making a broadcast on there. After Abdulmutalab did his stuff, unfortunately, in that flight in the US. And she said that it happened because he went to school in, not in Nigeria, outside the country. I can't remember the country where he schooled. She was talking with boldness. When I watched that interview that day, I was feeling for her. I said, okay, she's talking as a government official. Not up to 3 or 4 years after, Nigeria has taken over the record the world over as the foremost place where people resort to such terrorism and violence. So we are telling ourselves lies. In almost all the states in North Central, in Northeast, I grew up in the North. In Northwest, you have IDPs everywhere. Go to see Nigerians in Niger Republic, see Nigerians in Cameroon, see Nigerians in Chad. We are going down, but we pretend about it. All is well, all is well. Where we are today, even governors cannot travel by road across the country. Within your state, you can't travel to your village. We already held hostage, and yet we'll be pretending that all is well.
Okay. All right, the viewers out there, the program is still this morning on ITV, and we've since passed the subsidy removal. We are looking at the harmonization of the electoral bill that was done yesterday on plenary by the National Assembly. That's what we are looking at now. So please, we should effect that change. We've passed the subsidy removal. That was the first topic we actually had this morning. And then we're looking at the harmonized electoral bill for elections in Nigeria. Now, gentlemen, let's look at the way the political parties may react to this harmonized bill. From all indications, there's no doubt that the president is going to accent to it. At least it's sure that the president will accent to it. Now, but how do we think the political parties are going to react to some of the clauses? Like, for example, the one that talks about the consensus candidates. It's something that usually in our country, we see that as a major big problem for political parties. Politicians break away from their parties because they don't agree when it comes to allowing some people to just come up as consensus candidates. I was arguing.
Well, like, it's going to, words are fake, you know. Now, the truth is, what is playing out is a script that is being, prepared somewhere, and then a rubber stamp just happened to it.
I'm sure you were there when they prepared the script.
I don't need to be there. You know, if judging from what happened prior to now, we should know where we are going to. So I don't even need to. I know those that will be out for presidential election, and to a great extent.
Of course, we know those that are indicating interest.
I'm not speaking by my spiritual authority, and I can tell you who is likely to be.
That may not be correct. So let's wait and see.
Yeah, well, that's what we keep saying. I'm speaking from what I have seen prior to now. When there is now a consensus candidate of someone, bringing that in, that one in itself, there is something is going to attend to in few days from now. So the president will ascend to it quickly. I know that's clear.
And from all indications, gentlemen, don't you think that the ruling party, the APC, may opt for that consensus candidate thing?
That's where I didn't want to say, you will not allow me to talk. You are the one asking questions, you are providing answers. So I told you a while ago that we know where we are going to, and we know those that we are bringing in, and that is exactly what's playing out. So that is exactly where the APC is going to. And I know PDP will come up and say no and all of that, but no will not change anything now. Because the president have ascended to it, it's become a law, and that's fine. So you go on by your own, because I know some persons were trying to stop some candidates from coming in. They say, well, we were going to mess them up. But right now, you have consensus candidates, that could come up. So that will now be some persons will now agree on that. So if you are breaking away on your own because it's already there, it's a law already, and then what will you do? There's nothing you can do. I think this is very unfair. And it's very undemocratic and very, very high level of irresponsibility on my own. And that's how I see it. We should stop doing this. But it keeps coming again and again. And that's why, to a great extent, they say, go and vote. Go and cast your vote. But you ask yourself, at the end of the day, we know where we are going to. You understand? So this is it. So get your PVC ready. You are going to vote out whoever. To a great extent, it's easier said than done. You just watch and see. And then at the end of time, either you go through some corners and then we go back to court, and then maybe we'll now use Supreme Court again and some other, games I don't want to talk about. We will now begin to say, the truth is that we all know what we are doing. Every Nigerian knows what's playing out. And that's why, if you say we were going to vote out a government, how do you do that when the incumbent is in support? So these are very, very funny situations we are in. We just pray and hope that the average man will understand and wake up, and then we can always join forces. Like someone confronted me and said, well, why do you talk about people coming up and do this? I said, well, we just have to keep fighting. It's not gotten easily,
Mr.
but we
Frankie,
have to keep fighting for it.
most, in as much as we're allowed to make our postulations here, because I want to say we may just be making postulations now. The president has not even accented. It's possible that the president will say, no, I'm not going to sign
You will soon read it, don't worry.
into law. And that may take us
No,
back to
it was
National
what he said.
Assembly.
He actually said he was going to do that.
No,
He told you,
will.
he said he will. When he gave the three, direct, and consensus, he was specific.
But he has not signed it.
No,
so
I know.
wait for the
He said, will the president be lying? We'll hold him for his word.
But I'm just looking at the possibility. What about if...
It has not reached him yet.
And by today, tomorrow, it will
We'll
reach
get
him.
to him.
So if the president signs, which eventually most of us are expecting that the president will sign. Now, this consensus thing, you know, because from the look of things, just like what Barrister Wosage said, it appears that most Nigerians are losing hope on our elections, electoral system and all that. But let's look at it. How can the average Nigerian, how can we effect the change that we desire as it relates to this consensus candidacy that may play out in the next election, and of course as it relates to what is going on in Nigeria today? How can we really effect that change that we need?
You see, effecting change from the base is normally not so easy in human history. But it's a great concept.
But we've always had changes, political changes that people desired, and it came to be.
There are changes and there are changes.
No, we've had. We've had. Edo State is a typical one.
I'm not contesting it.
Yeah.
That's why I said there are changes and there are changes, no doubt. You can change from A to B, but you can equally change from A to Z. It's all change, but there's a difference between the two, the extent to which you go. My point is this. I wanted to establish a fact. In the history of mankind, change from the bottom has always been a bit costly. Because for change to flow from the bottom, it only gets to that point where there is saturation in terms of viewpoint, where the people now, in their overwhelming majority, synchronize in a specific direction. That now mandates or put pressure on those up there to do what is needed. Where they refuse, there could be an uprising that leads to stuff here and there. Now, but talking about all these miniature changes, small stuff here and there, like this electoral we are talking about now, I'm not so excited. This is about the 6th time they are amending it. But our elections, are they, he said something just now, are they really free and fair? Do we have confidence in it? If the electoral were amended to the point where the law setting up INEC is reviewed, where INEC is not, in quotes, seemingly at the beck and call of the presidency in terms of how people are appointed. I make reference to UK or some other countries in the world. The elections are seemingly free and fair. People believe in it because it's from the beginning to the end. They see the processes. Where those who run the election process are not just appointed by one person, but everybody is a stakeholder. I'll let's give simple instances. If INEC were set up in such a way that all political parties are stakeholders in INEC, just imagine that, okay, let's say we have about 20 political parties. In the membership of INEC, political parties must have their representation. News of the National Association of News Organizations will have representation. Youth groups will have representation. Community groups will have some sense of representation. There will be diversity that ensures that there are checks and balances. But in this case, we don't have that, apart from other factors that ensure that the system is skewed. What they amended is just Section 84 of this electoral, just Section 84. Yeah, it seemed beautiful. On the issue of consensus, they put some stuff to make it seem a bit more stringent. That, okay, when it is done, all the candidates who participate in the process, all the aspirants rather, they must write a letter of
resignation that they so agree.
Yeah, conceding to that consensus. But we know we're in Nigeria. Unfortunately, the supremacy of the law in Nigeria is not up there. We live in a country where connection takes primacy over the place of the law. Who you know is more important than what you can get from the courts, in quotes. So, in such a circumstance, the parties will equally find a way to dribble around it where there are controversies. What does it take to expel some persons, make arrangement for letter of expulsion, as for those who don't know, will not accept.
And that maybe becomes an argument that I didn't sign that letter and all that.
So, it's
can suspend you from your word.
It's a small step from the provision we had in the previous act.
Yeah.
With reference to those provisions, because such details were not spelled out like they are spelled out now. Concerning both direct, indirect, and consensus.
Yeah.
But for me, that doesn't really bring about the changes we require. The only thing that will actually bring about change is what would transmit to the people the power. Like I said just now, the voting component in making decisions as to who will lead us in Nigeria, I can give it just 40% of the real contribution to the process. If they could enhance it to a point where we can say that about 80 or 100% of what determines how leaders emerge pertains to the people's choice, my brother, you will begin to hear people resign from office. But now they don't resign because there's no consequence, there's impunity. I told you just now, the National Assembly, since 1999 till date, all the corruption cases they set up committee to investigate. What is the effect? More money is lost in the process.
All right, Barrister Wosage, before we go, let's talk about the members, because we know before they went on break, the story was that they got feedback from the people that they are representing, and there's so much wish that it should be direct primaries and all that. But this time, they didn't tell us that, okay, these same people told us to harmonize, to say either direct or indirect. Now, what does this portend for the kind of democracy that we run in Nigeria? A situation whereby some members, are elected for a purpose and we don't get feedback. They don't get feedback to the people. What does it portend?
It shows they're on their own and they are there. The leaders take it all and they are just there to a great extent. The people should worship them when they are coming to the village. They get some women to be dancing around and they throw some few naira around and celebrate, this is our son, and then greet them, they share some rice. I think that's all they owe the people. And at the end, they return back because they say they are representing. They won't bring such debates and say, let's have a talk. I don't think that happened. And if they should bring those persons that went out. Although if you ask them, they will have people that will say, yes, we were in the meeting. Poverty will always make a man to think and do anything to a great extent. The average Nigerian is very impoverished and hungry. So I think they keep you small. Like, I will still make reference to Joseph Stanley when he brought out a chicken and they pulled out the feathers and then it was bleeding and he was throwing corn at it and the chicken was picking with the beak, and at the end he said, the chicken is like the masses. So you make them weak and they are frustrated. So whatever you give to them, they just take it. I think that is what it is. So what concerns the man trying to farm or weed his farm, and you are talking to him, sir, you are the leader, sir. Is anything you say, we say, we are okay. Just give us that rice and let me go home and feed my children. I think that's the problem. So they are not, you need to be stable to think rationally. If we were impoverished, we will not be saying what we are saying. If Frank Yosu is hungry, we will not be talking like this with all the information in his head. But because you are able to get by. You are not looking for anything. So you are free to air your mind. So you say, well, it's Idi Amin that said, freedom of speech is in Uganda. But whether your freedom will guarantee after you are so these people understand. They could harass them. Oh, okay, look at someone. I just a little declaration. Someone told me, say, so I'm owing this person. And they said they want to use police to come and pick me up. I said, did you steal? He said, no. He said, because I'm owing. I said, that is not it. So you can see the level and the way people operate and the way they have become. So these political elites and the leaders of political parties and representative, like you call them, I don't know those that are representing. I honestly believe they are representing a set of cabal. And they are representing those that have sponsored them there. Those are the people they are representing. I remember a man of blessed memory now, Allah Kala of blessed memory, that would go to Adedibu's house and say, Bawolamashi, government has laid me. What would do government house? Yes, I am telling you, this is what Frank, I know. You don't want me to say.
Yeah, Frank, I want to.
Bawolamashi, government has laid me. What we would do in government house? A governor asking an elder statesman, what will we be doing in government house? So that's what is playing out.
Now, Mr. I want to really react to this seeming attitude of our legislators not always taking feedback from the people. As it relates to, okay, we've harmonized now, and before this time, that was not the story, as we quickly draw the conclusion.
No, but I told that on that earlier. I affirm that when people have no consequence, when the government is driven by arrogance and impunity, they wouldn't quite make recourse to the people in taking decisions. That is the truth. The bulk of what goes on there, who is held to account? Nobody. Do you know what of the mic investigating committee? Afterward, do you hear anything subsequently? Now, the unfortunate thing, Nigeria is not an island. Other countries don't wait for Nigeria. If you go to even some war-torn countries in West Africa, just go there and spend 2 or 3 days, you'll be ashamed of your country. I have a friend that works, he's a senior banker in Lagos. He's not from Nigeria. The guy told me, he said every weekend I go to Benin Republic. See his point. He said, I make my money in Lagos. This is where the money is. I said, but I go to my country to get sanity every weekend. Because there's no mercy. So, but say our investment. Right now, go to NYSC camps. orientation. Now, people have gone through 5, 6, 7 years of intense study to become experts in certain fields. What is government initiative to address the issue of unemployment? They now begin to learn hairdressing, cake making. Look around the world, not even the world, West Africa. See countries that are going up there. Is that the policy trust of government? Everything goes to show that the system is failing.
Yeah, but production around the world is done, I mean, from that very primordial...
No.
For professionals?
See, you go to university, after 7 years of studying as a medical doctor, you now go and start resorting to learning how to make a... See, skills are okay. It's normal to learn such stuff. People can learn it and attain the best they want to attain. But why spend millions in educational pursuits? Then when you finish, you are now looking for something. You ask yourself, why did I not just go and learn that stuff and go to school part-time and be more productive? Youth unemployment in this country, by the last data released by MBS, is about 42.3%, or 42.5%. If you sum up the unemployment and underemployment together in this country, it goes to over 60%. So my point is this. If a nation does not prioritize the supremacy of the law to ensure that things work, for normalcy to inspire the people to maximize their potentials, the nation will be losing while other nations are maximizing their benefits. See, I'm making a prediction today. This decision by government, by political convenience, on this fuel subsidy, this is 2022. I'm sure by the end of this year, we'll have the opportunity to do a review. This same government, last year, just between January and May, debt to revenue was about 97%. As of December, by what has come out so far, it has reduced a little. I think it's about 70-something% in terms of what we pay as debt. That's for every 100 naira Nigeria makes, about 70 naira goes to debt servicing. Now, with subsidy being a component as part of it, being sustained, subsidy may consume up to 4 trillion.
4 trillion.
Where will the money come from? We are borrowing more and more. We are not making money. They say that our GDP is high. GDP is a latent, is a docile energy. It doesn't do anything. It is what you get out of it that matters. What do you get from it? Cannot pay the debt.
Anyway, all this we keep on coming to fore. We'll keep on going through. We'll just keep on investigating and also keep on bringing you our guests here to look at issues as they unfold. I want to say a very big thank you to Barrister Wosaige and also Mr. Frank Ehiosu, who came to share their minds on some of the issues that we talked about here this morning. A very big thank you, gentlemen.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, the program is still this morning on ITV. Please stay tuned.